anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? Is anybody out there? Can anybody tell me what's going on?
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scar.
This video comes at the request of one of my Patreons, and this video is going to be about how to set up and plan to use your radio. Two things we're going to cover is going to be planning and radio setup / input. First thing, the planning. Before you start pushing buttons on your radio, you should find out what frequencies are commonly used in your area and who uses them. Three resources that I use are radioreference.com, Repeater Book, and rightchannelradios.com. I also dabble with the U.S. Coast Guard as well because they have lots of good references. I'll put some links in the description for you and you can figure out what you want to do with that. So let's take a very quick look at them. I use radioreference.com to locate commonly used frequencies that I'm interested in. I use repeaterbook.com to locate repeaters in my area. It's that simple, really. I'm sure that at some point you'll be interested in repeaters, so this is a good reference to know. Lastly, I use rightchannelradios.com to get ideas and references for possible vehicle kits that may be in my future. Now, a little disclaimer here. Whatever reference you use is up to you. Don't take my word for the best reference in the world. These are just some of the ones that I am using right now. All right, now that you know where to find information for your area, you need to put something on paper to help you with inputting things into your radio. For the purposes of this video, I have printed out a county's emergency services that are near me using one of the references that I've pointed you to. Please remember that EMS channels can be encrypted. Make sure to research the ones you can listen to in on without encryption before wasting your time programming into your radio. Now that we understand what we need to put on paper before we start working with the radio, let's get into the setup of the radio and learning the basics you'll need to move forward. Looking at some of the things that you'll need to get your radio set up, the menu itself has 40 different options. We will not be covering them all. Many of the 40 menu options are advanced, and at some point you will need to understand them, but that's not what this video is for. These are only the basics to get you up and running. I will do my best to walk through menu items that I think are the most important for a good SHTF radio. First and foremost, manually entering frequencies. It's actually very simple. I'm going to use my handy dandy supposedly skewer stuff as my pointy device. Putting in a frequency is actually very simple. You simply go whatever the frequency is. Say it's 462560. We'll change that. 462. We're going to turn this around. 560. And it's now entered. It's just that easy to enter a frequency. That's what we call manually entering frequencies. Now you know how to do that. The next thing you need to understand is channels versus frequencies. Channels are preset frequencies. When you get your radio set up, you can preset frequencies based on your channel system. You may use menu 27 to set channels, but we need a better understanding of how the radio works first before we mess with this. So just remember there is a difference between channels and frequencies. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the menu number 40, the reset function. The reset function is exactly what it is. If we go to menu and we type in 440, this stick was a bad idea. It says all, but we're going to interact with the menu, so we're going to press menu again. Notice that the arrow goes down. Now you have two options. You can either use all, and that's exactly what it means. All. It will reset everything to the factory default. Whoop, we didn't move fast enough. Menu. Menu again. or we can use it to set for VFO. Now this will only reset all the menus to factory default, and it will also get rid of your channels. And that's not what we want to do. So in this particular case, I'm just going to default this entire radio so you can see exactly what happens. So if we go menu, because it remembered where we were. Remember reset, it remembered where we were. And if we go to all and we hit menu again, source, all, menu, it is now, oh my God, it's speaking another language that other channels won't like. But don't worry about that, because we're going to actually fix that. That's exactly how you reset your radio to the factory defaults. There's a lot of things that actually just happened there, but I did this so that you guys could actually see what your radio is going to do when it does get reset to its default. It is not necessary for you to reset your radio to its default settings when you get your brand new radio. It's just not necessary. This is just so you know what actually is going to happen. So the first thing I'm going to fix is the voice prompt. This is actually not very important because you're not going to do this, but at some point your radio might decide to go back to its home country, in which you can actually simply just change it. You're going to go to menu setting, menu 14. It's going to say voice. You're going to hit menu again, and see that right there? We don't want to hear that. So we're going to hit the arrow down key, and we're going to turn that back to American. And you can also have it in the off position so it doesn't say anything. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to leave it on so you can actually hear the voice prompts. So we're going to put this back on American, and we're going to hit the menu button. And now she speaks American. The next thing we're going to work on is what is called display illumination time. Now, some people might be in the dark. You might have a limited visibility situation where you need to be able to see your screen longer than you would think. For the purposes of this video, we're actually going to max out the amount of time that the screen will illuminate when you push a button. If you hadn't noticed, when I was pushing buttons, the screen actually illuminated. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this right here. And this is menu number 6. So we're going to go menu 6. And it's going to say ABR. I have no idea what that means, but we're going to hit it again. See, the arrow went down, and we're going to max this out to 10. Now, unless it's in the off position, if you set it for off, it'll never come on if you want to be super tactical. But we're going to set this for the full 10. Now, this is not 10 seconds. Depending on your radio, we need to hit the menu button again to lock it in. Depending on your radio, it can be anywhere from 10 seconds to 24 seconds. You just have to check it out by your radio, download the actual PDF that runs your radio, and you'll be able to figure this stuff out. Now, what I can tell you is that I'm also going to put in the links a description, in the description, an actual link to a PDF that has all of these commands, all 40 of them, so you guys can reference them later. The next thing we need to talk about is squelch. Now, squelch is basically when somebody keys their handset, there's a certain level of power that's coming through the radio. And sometimes it's enough to actually hear what they're saying, and sometimes it's enough. It has a lot to do with the power that they're transmitting. And what it comes down to is that if somebody keys up and they're a long ways away or they're in weak power, then all you'll hear is noise. You'll hear is that noise. So what we want to do is we want to set that to a happy number. And that happy number is right around 5 because it goes from 0 to 10, I believe. It's either 0 or 1 to 10. I can't remember. Let's push the buttons right now. So we're actually going to be moving to menu item 0. And for some reason, these radios don't like menu item 0, but we're going to put it on there anyway. So it goes to, we've already got it preset to 5, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the menu, and we're going to play with it so you guys can actually see. It'll go from 1 to 0 to 9. So we're just going to set that, a good happy number for that is 5. Go ahead and set your radios for that now if you're following along. Make sure you hit that menu button to lock it in. And now your radio won't make lots and lots of static if somebody is transmitting, they're too far away or not enough power is coming in so that you can't hear them. And it just doesn't go all the time. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is transmitting power. These radios, certain radios have different settings for transmitting powers. This one has high, medium, and low. And you also want to look at, and that is going to be somewhere between 2 and 5 to 8 watts. The transmission power is rated in watts. Certain frequencies, certain standard frequencies only allow you to transmit at a certain power level. So you're going to need to know that. Now, most of the references will tell you where you need to set your power, but if you preset these all, then you would when you tune to that particular frequency, it would automatically tune to that power level. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to set this and we're going to go to menu number 2. So it's menu 2. Menu 2, transmitting power. This one's currently set for high. We're going to play with on a GMRS frequency later. Disclaimer to all my ham heads out there that are scrupulously or unscrupulously surveying all of my non-ham head radio techniques and words. I do have a GMRS license, so you can go suck it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go back to that. We're going to go to menu, and we remembered where we were. That's menu number 2, and then we're going to hit menu again, and then we're going to change this to low, and then we're going to hit menu again, and now we will only transmit at 2 watts. All right, which most GMRS channels actually are set for, but well, that's more technical stuff that we don't even need to talk about. All right, also remember too that when you start talking about transmission power or transmission levels, low, medium, high, the more power you use to transmit with, the more power that you is going to go away from the radio and obviously being sucked out of the battery. So more power used to transmit equals more power being used by the battery. And so if you've got a small battery or if you need that battery to last a long time, shut up, phone. Then you might want to think about your power levels. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about is wideband versus narrowband. We're not going to get in too far into the technicalities or we're not going to dive. This is not a deep dive into wideband. I need to move my notes out of the scene. Into wideband versus narrowband. What I can tell you is that if you're talking to somebody on the radio and they say, "You sound funny," then you might want to check this out. Also, I would do a little research and find out what wideband versus narrowband is, because that is not what this video is for. And the way we set that up is through menu 5. So we're going to go menu, and we're going to go 5. Nope. 5. There we go. Wideband. We're going to hit menu again. And right now it's set to wideband. You can also change it to narrowband. And then we can go back to wideband. I'm going to leave it on wideband for the purposes of this video by hitting the menu word. And now we are on wideband. And also, if you want to get out of any of these menus, just hit the exit button. If not, leave it alone. And the radio itself is pretty smart. It will decide to switch back to where you were before. All right, this one is actually kind of important, so you might want to pay more attention to it. This one is what they call dual watch, dual reception. This is menu number 7, and it's going to say some weird stuff. And I'm going to show you exactly what it means here in a second. So let's go ahead. We're going to do it. So we're just going to go menu 7, and it says TDR. And we're going to turn that off, and here's why. We're going to go menu, and then we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to hit it again. And we've turned off TDR, which is dual watch, dual reception. Now, this function allows you to listen to 2 frequencies or channels at the same time. See how we have 2 frequencies queued up right here? Now, what I've done is I've turned it off. So right now, it is only listening, and I can only transmit on this top frequency right here, on this top one right here, which I will actually cover later what this actual name is. It is not listening, or you cannot talk on this bottom frequency. If I turn it, now if I want to listen or talk, then I have to hit the AB button, because this is A and this is B. Just think of it that way. We're going to talk about it in a second. I'll give you the legitimate information on it a little further on in the video. But now it's only doing that. Now if I go to menu, and it remembered where I was, so I go menu, and I'm going to hit menu again, and then I can change it to turn it on, and I'm going to go menu, and now it's actually listening to both of these frequencies at the same time. And when someone transmits on these frequencies and I receive it, you will actually see that arrow will start to flash on whichever one of these frequencies that it's actually receiving. So for the purpose of this video, and oddly enough, one of the things that I like to do is I keep mine on off. And I keep mine on off because I only want to hear one thing at a time. If I need to scan for something, or if I need to listen to more than one frequency at a time, I will turn that on, and that's exactly how you do it. The next thing we're going to talk about is keypad beep. Now, as you've noticed, I've been pushing these buttons, and it's been going beep, 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 beep. Now, that is actually menu 8. Some people hate this, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to menu 8. It says the beep. I'm going to activate the menu. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to hit the menu again to confirm it, and now when I push buttons, let's go back to frequency, exit. If I decide I want to put a frequency in there, 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, nothing's actually happening. As you can see, or as you heard, it doesn't beep anymore. It actually is like not doing it. Some of the word will come through, but we can shut that off too. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on for the purposes of this video so you can hear the actual keystrokes when I make them. So menu, it's still on, it remembered. We're going to activate the menu. We're going to turn it back on. We're going to go menu. We're going to exit. And now when I type something,
1, 2, 3.
See the beeps started again. So that's actually how you turn the beeps on and off. So if you're lost at this point, relax, take a breath, everything's going to be fine. I'm putting everything in this video so that you can use it as a reference later on, and you can go back to figure these things out on your own. So the next thing we're going to talk about is something a little bit more advanced, but it's actually kind of not. And that's called REC digital code speech and REC continuous tone code speech. These are menu items 10 and 11. And I'm going to finger through them, but the bottom line is that right now you don't really need them. So pushing these buttons, you'll see what I'm talking about. So if I go to menu and I go 1, 0, that's going to be R DCS. And for my ham heads, you know exactly what DCS is. And right now it's set to off, and it's set to off for a reason. The other one is actually menu 11. So if I go menu 1, 1, that is our CTCS. It is also set off. I recommend that you set yours to off for right now, because what these really are is DCS and STCS functions can be a little advanced, but the basic premise of the function is that your radio and other radios you're talking to or listening to won't be able to speak or hear each other if you don't have the function configured for that. Now, this is not a super secret encryption, but it does limit the other. It's kind of like you need to be in the know to be able to get onto these frequencies for listening and conversation. Now, like I said, we're just going to keep this set to off, but if we were to go through it, they are preset, so you wouldn't have to go crazy. So if we go to CTCS off, and we go menu, and then we decide to turn it on, now magically we're talking in hertz. See how it's doing that? These are all preset inside the radio. So once you know exactly where you're supposed to be, you would just channel that CTCS to those particular hertz. Your other friend would do the same thing, and then you would be able to talk. Like I said, for now, we're going to leave this for on off. We're going to go menu, and then we're going to exit out of that particular menu. Now, the next thing that you can actually set, the more fancier stuff that you guys have been seeing, starts to move into a specific realm that you can only really do about a quarter of with this particular radio. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is MDFA, channel mode display A, and channel mode display B. Now, what are we talking about? This line right here, we talked about this earlier. This is channel mode display A. This is channel mode display B. This function determines what you see on the screen. Looking at your screen, you'll see two frequencies or channels depending on whether you're in frequency mode or channel mode. The top line, or large text, is MDFA. The bottom line is MDFB. Now, I've said that in both layman speak as well as tech talk, so no one should not understand the difference between A and B. Now, one of the things that you can actually do is, this is actually menu 21 and 22, so I'm going to use 21. So menu 2, 1, and that is MDFA, which is that top line. And right now it is set to frequency. If we activate it, we can actually go to name. Now, there's no names in this radio because you have to hook it to chirp in order to do that, but there are channels, and right now it is set to channel 21. So if we hit menu again and we exit out, it now says whatever the channel was that we set it to, but we didn't. So that was a mistake. It wasn't set to channel 21. It was on, that was the menu number that was flashing. So it's now set to channel 00. If I decide to listen to it, oh, I'm sorry, AB, there we go. Then I would have to know what channel 000 is that I had preset. I had like already set up, say it's a NOAA station, and you want that to be channel 001 or 000, then you would actually have to set that. And that is actually more of an advanced function. So for now, let's just remember, like we had with our thing, we have our little printout of what our frequencies are that we're going to use. Let's go ahead and make sure that we're just in frequency mode. So we're going to go menu. It remembered where we were. We're going to go menu again, and we're going to change this back to frequency. We're going to hit menu again, and then we'll hit exit. Now it's gone back. So in this particular case, channel 000 would have been 144725. Now, why is it channel 000? Because we never set it to be channel whatever. There's 128 possible channels that you have to play with to make your own little channel list with. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is what they call busy channel lockout. This is menu 23, also known as BCL. What it does is it stops your radio from transmitting while it is receiving. So if somebody is transmitting to you and you have this turned on, then you hit that, you key your mic over here, and the radio will not transmit. It's going to wait until it's dead air, until it's just silence, and then it will allow you to push that button. I turn mine to the off position so that I can transmit over people, because there will be times where someone is transmitting and they're way far away, but they're sucking up just enough bandwidth to make your radio make noise. And you're closer to your friend, and your friend's hearing the same thing, but you really need to talk to your friend. So if it's off, when I key my handset, my transmission will override that other person's transmission as long as they have busy channel lockout turned to off. Now, like I said, that is menu 23, so we're going to go menu 23, busy channel lock off, BCL. It is set to off, menu. I can turn it on or I can turn it off. I'm going to leave mine on the off menu. We're going to do that. Now when I transmit, my radio will transmit every time I push the transmit button. The next thing is alarm mode. Now, a lot of people get confused about what this button does. It's actually made so that if set up right, I push this button and I'm on the frequency with all my friends, and I push that alarm button, it's going to send an alarm tone out to everybody on that frequency that it can actually reach. I don't like this. I think this is great. I think this is super duper, but the problem is it's constantly transmitting that alarm. And so we're going to turn that off, and then I'll even turn it on so you guys can see what it would look like. So this is actually menu 32. So we're going to go to menu 32, and this is alarm tone, and we're going to go activate it, and then we're going to turn it to SHTF. And that makes sure that you're not transmitting the alarm. We're going to hit menu again. Now, if I push this button, and I don't have an antenna, so don't worry about it, but right now I have it turned off. If I push this button, it's going to start to transmit on all of that particular alarm frequency. Right now, it's not transmitting. If I turn it off, that all it did was make noise. All right, so be aware that that's what that actually does. So when you're playing with that alarm button, make sure that you turn it off before you do anything with it. I think that was pretty self-explanatory. All right, the next thing is band selection. Now, the radio spectrum can get a little confusing, so I recommend you do some research to understand these different wavelengths. For the purpose of this video, we're going to set this radio to VHF. An admin note, the radio seems to be smart enough to not allow you to program UHF frequencies in while in VHF mode, VHF mode, and vice versa. So if we're going to, you have the band button over here, where are we at here? I need to be in frequency mode, and then if I hit band, it will change. You see where it just changed that up to a higher band. It went from VHF to UHF is what it did. From very high frequency, numbers went up. So we're going to go back to VHF. Now, in order to set these particular things, when you get to that point where you're actually programming your radio and need to know if it's a VHF or UHF channel, then what you need to do is use menu 33. So we're going to go to menu 333, and then right now it's set for VHF, and we just go menu to activate it, and then we go to UHF, and then we hit menu, and now the radio is in UHF mode. So if we get rid of this, see what it just did? It just jumped up to the 400 realm. All right. I'm sure there's a more technical term for that, but the bottom line, that's exactly what happened. And so if we go back to, we need to set this back to VHF mode. And so we're going to do it again. It remembered where we were. We're going to go ahead and hit that. And we're going to make sure we're in VHF mode, and we're going to go like that. And then we exit. Look what it did. It jumped right back to the VHF bands. All right. Or I don't even know if I'm saying the right word, be VHF, but that spectrum on that channel area, that frequency number on the spectrum is probably the best words that I can come up for. Like I said, the radio seems to be smart enough to know that if you try to type in, so if I'm in VHF mode, if I try to type in like 4000000, which would be UHF, it probably jumped right to UHF. But if I change bands, see how it went right back? So it automatically knew that I was going to be transmitting in UHF. Now that I've thoroughly confused you with bands, the last thing we're going to talk about is the tone at end of transmitting beep. It's called the Roger beep. Some people like it. A lot of ham heads absolutely hate it. I don't know why. I don't care. But a lot of people like to be able to turn it on and off. So all we have to do is go to menu 39. Menu 39. It says Roger beep is off. I'm going to go ahead and activate it. And I'm going to turn the Roger beep on. And we're going to go to menu to activate it. And we're going to hit exit. And then as you can see, there's no antenna, so it doesn't matter what happens when I push that button. But just so the ham heads don't shit a kitten, I'm going to put this on a GMRS channel. 462562, and obviously a 5, but these radios don't recognize that. And so no, we're actually in GMRS 1 right now. And so if I push the button and I transmit and then I release it, you hear that button. You hear that noise. I'll do it again. Transmitting, nothing. So if we go back, we can change menu 39. Menu, it remembered where we were. We're going to activate the menu, and we're going to turn it off, and then we're going to hit menu again, and we're going to hit exit so you can see it, and then we're going to transmit again. Transmitting, no beep. It's actually pretty simple if you do it that way. Okay, so I'm sure there's about 1 million ham heads out there that are very upset with me right now, and that is A-okay because nobody cares. If you like what I'm doing, do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe button. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. Everything we've talked about today is actually linked in the description, so you should be able to go on and do what you need to do. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I will do my best to try and answer them for you. And until next time, stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.